Hey, good evening. It's another day of the markets. Hope everyone is keeping well. And just like the title says, where is the market going? So, first and foremost, I hope you all had a great trading day at the market today. But while I share my screen, we'll just go over the events of the market. Look at that, go over typical Trump style. Okay, so um, today it's actually a bit of a funny day, really. I was going to change the title for this thing, but I decided, no, let me not go against that. But anyway, so if you look at what the Qs did today, we had the Qs, and what did it do? It's a strange one, actually, because every time, I keep thinking this is going all-time high, it's going all-time high. It finds a reason to dump. Some people tend to think, oh, there's something wrong with this market, but there's nothing wrong with the market. Market has a mind of its own. So as I was just saying, it was probably pushing all-time high, but it did not happen. So as you can see, I still got my line there, and the past, should I say, well, that's hours really, but if you're gonna do on a daily, what did we see? Again, yeah. So overall, the market's definitely still bullish. You can see the candle right there. Market's still bullish, still pushing up. Whatever happened today, I think that's part of it. Like they would usually tell you to zoom out. So yes, very, very bullish market, still bullish. And that's what we had. But again, I was gonna say it was muted in some sorts, and in certain areas it was up. So again, not a big bother for me at all. Again, there's something else I was gonna mention. If you look at the IWM, let's look at IWM. What happened to IWM? IWM actually is punching all-time high. This is the small caps market, and I haven't put a trend line on this, but if I'm going to put a trend line all the way, it's been a while, it's been gunning for all-time high again. Look at that. Gone, went for it. Sorry, let's keep it that way. There you go. It went, oopsie, double. Okay, pick. So it went for it in 2024 November, and then dipped heavily. And then again, December rejected. We did not have a Christmas rally, but sorry, it's Santa rally. I think it's been 3 years now, but not a big deal. But if you look at it, you want to zoom out and let's just push it out. So yes, almost getting there. I think we might just get a great play with the small caps at some point. But again, the markets today, I couldn't really call it. It's all over the place. But like I said yesterday, we're going to talk about that anyway. The metals are still a part, a play for me. So, yes, you can look at individual stocks. I think I prefer them when it comes to earnings. Yes, earnings binary, but you got to have a strategy. So that's that one. So yes, I think IWM is trying to tell us something. And what do I think is going to happen? Probably, I believe we're probably going to get a breakout and then run away at some point, because everything that's happening in this market, President Trump is literally doing everything, every play, just to prevent this market from falling. If you look at what happened with Venezuela over the weekend, look at crude oil. Crude oil, I've been talking about this for a while. It's literally my staple. It just can't catch a break. Look, crude oil has been collapsing for the past 3 years. I think since the last high we had in 2022, which is 4 years ago, and it's just been collapsing over and over and over. So, again, literally at the resistance, it kind of feels very well structured because yes, it's at the resistance, sorry, it's at the support level, and then again, they find a reason to push it back up. So it looks like they have an agenda in terms of what level they want this to keep playing. And it's been there. So I am watching this keenly, got my eyes on it. So yes, do I expect another collapse here, another fall? Of course I do expect a little fall, but then we'll watch. And then you find something that pushes it up. Not a big deal. I'm just paying attention to this, not playing the past. But what I say, like I said to the guys, is we don't play the crude, we play the shovel, pick and shovel, leave the key bricks alone, get the pick and shovel. So in that case, we'll be looking at um, the oil drilling instruments. I think one of them is Valero, for example, or is it VOL or VAL? Valero, I think. Let's get it quickly. Just up to my Valaris. There you go. VAL, which is actually punching very, very high. This is there you go. Not VAL. I can't remember. If I can find my notes, I've got my notes somewhere. But I think another one is Exxon actually, because I believe this one here, yes, it got sold off. What you got to understand, I think let me just quickly talk about the plays within Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and the likes. You got to understand this oil is going to take a while to get into. But yes, so sorry for them to get into process. So yes, it's got Venezuela, but this would not happen today. In fact, it might not even say the lifespan of his presidency. So that's something. But I was looking at ALB as well. This one here was left for dead by, I remember in the 80s, I remember calling this in the group, when it was in the 80s, was catching so many multiple downgrades. Now they're chasing, analysts are chasing this. But yes, so that's another one. I wish I could find my notes on the few stocks I mentioned today, actually. I can't find them. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so the other one is, so yes, this is one which I'm actually definitely very, very keen on. I've got a little exposure here on this one. Another one I mentioned yesterday, I said, how do you play this market? Go for value. That's just me. I stick with value because right now I just believe it's extremely extended. Am I calling for a short? Absolutely not. I just think the valuation we are getting is just a multiple. I mean, look at Google right here. It's on a runaway run. Look at Micron. Micron is on a runaway again. Look at SNDX. So, anything AI, it's not where I'm playing at all. AI is just on a runaway, is on a runner. I think Micron caught a downgrade today, but guess what? It just kept matching on. After that, he had a big dip and then went on. Again, Palantir's actually he had a great, great day yesterday, recovery. But again, everything is just punching all-time high. So I am a lot patient and I'm not even looking at this. And I'm happy to miss out, if at all, you've got to have a style that works for you, but you don't want to be caught off guard by the markets. Again, I talked about playing the metals as a conveniently hiding place for me. If you look at gold, gold is one. I haven't been looking at this for a while. It's telling us something. Like I keep saying, you got to be afraid, be very afraid. 4,460. Look at silver. Silver. Again, silver is telling us something. 78. Who would have thought silver? I mean, people are gunning for this to go to 100. Even some people are calling 150. You've got to know what works for you. Palladium is definitely my play here. I think I'm calling for 2000 on this one. Again, play your game. None of this is financial advice, just me. Calling for Palladium. And you got quite few multiple metals. But another thing people are not looking is the commodities, the soft commodities, people tend to chase it late. Now, sugar is one. The disadvantage is that commodities don't run as fast. But again, hey, gold says hold my beer because that's been pushing. So you can see sugar right there. Okay, not saying anything, but just saying look at sugar. Look at soybean. Again, you can see soybean right there. Again, let's look at cocoa. There you go. They are all telling you something. You've got to be able to listen and track when they move. And I'm not saying it's moving yet, but this guy, soft commodities, because at some point, the way it works is when people get, when liquidity or certain position gets all-time high, the money is got to be rotated elsewhere. So that's another area, another matter entirely. I'm a big time commodities player. I love that. But also, let's look at Bitcoin, BTC. What is Bitcoin doing? Yesterday it caught 93 and then again it dumped. And you've got to pay attention to this. So if you are exposed to Bitcoin uh, positions, we do have, for example, BMNR, which is got earnings very, very soon. And I mean, this is Tom Lee. Tom Lee just can't catch a break. So let's see what BMNR is saying. I think BMNR actually also, yeah, he was just on a downer today as well. It's just I think yesterday he was top 632, but again, this is meant to be Ethereum Treasury. He just can't catch a break. So. But by the way, it kind of feels like I'm just calling all downers. Do not forget, we also had the markets had quite a lot of success. This is one which I mentioned earlier in the group, I think a couple of weeks ago. It's been quite slow, but I think this is probably going to double. It's a very tiny play. And you can see this has actually been going, it's just going nuts right now. So that's one I mentioned. It was a tiny play, which has been going very well. So strangely enough, during the market today, we got some news, President Trump, and he said, what's the news again? Let's just quickly read it. So he said he wants to ban large investors from buying single family homes. And as a result, this is not great for, of course, the properties. I didn't even actually look at how much effect it had on rockets. Let's see. Okay, not a bad move. But if you look at BX as a Blackstone, they actually went down as much as 9%, but it made a quick recovery to about 5%. So you've got to understand which way you are looking at it. I think there was another news that was released. So yeah, it said in his it would be his administration's first significant action to address the US housing crisis, which we know is happening. Some housing advocates say that Wall Street firms and other institutional investors' purchase of hundreds of thousands of homes to rent out contribute to a dearth of properties for sale and drive up prices in certain neighborhoods. It's not clear if Trump can carry out the ban without congressional approval. One thing is, and I've been seeing this as well, we've been noticing that there's been more houses than the buyers. It's quite crazy, more sellers than buyers. That's not a great market. Of course, you want more buyers than sellers. So we do have the demand, outstripping supply right there. I think another one right there is, so we just talked about BX. Another news that was released was um, he did say that all, I think, what's it called? Defense stocks should not pay dividend and they should just start focusing on growth. Though Lockheed Martin has actually been amazing and has had a great recovery. So unfortunately, that put today again, Raytheon RTX, you can tell there's a structured way to this thing. And again, this is in the height of, I mean, I think we saw macro there with Russia and Russia, America, going for a certain oil vessel which has got Russian on it, despite the fact that Russia sent a submarine. But that's it. That's the macro. I don't want to get involved. But overall, we can just tell it's pushing the price of oil down. So I still got my eyes peeled on that. Another one is JP Morgan Chase, JPM. They reached a deal to take over the Apple credit card program from Goldman Sachs, according to people familiar with the matter. So with about $20 billion in balances, the co-branded program is one of the largest. The deal is expected to be announced soon, and Goldman and Apple launched the card in 2019 to much fanfare. By late 2022, with mounting losses and regulatory probes underway, the bank began a slow and costly exit from consumer lending. So JP Morgan in asset management units cut all ties with proxy advisors in an industry first. Basically, we know that Apple went into the credit card space. Yeah, huge fanfare. I remember that. But at some point, they realized it wasn't worth for them. So you can see this. What I'm just saying here is that JP Morgan, they want to take over from Apple, which the deal with Apple from Goldman Sachs. But Goldman Sachs got earnings in, I think, in a few days. Was it February, or I was looking at this yesterday? So if you look at Goldman Sachs, well, all-time high, there you go. It's January. So yes, 15th of January, that's about next week. So that might be them pricing in all the bad news in advance. Who knows? And Apple, Apple has been a bit relatively quiet for this past few days. I know it went all-time high. Yes, I was looking at that, and it's just been. I did not put a shot on this, by the way, but I mean, I just thought, yeah. So one thing I would definitely say is, of course, If it's a parabolic move, then of course you want to short. Basically, you got to be able to make money up and down. So I am extensively monitoring Micron because I think at some point the bull's going to get tired. And of course, you've got to be able to know when to place it. So it's something I'm watching, absolutely. But so far, so good. We've got earnings coming in next week. This is a tiny one I mentioned yesterday. Semiconductor penguin solution. But guess what happened? This was up yesterday and it was a huge candle reversal. So got to understand something when it comes to this earning. Like I said again, earnings a binary process. So is it telling me anything? I don't know. This is it's too little to tell me anything. This is barely $1 billion capital market cap asset. So watching this, but I think today we do have quite a few. Oh my goodness, we're looking at APLD as well for the earnings. Applied digital. Don't know how that did. Yeah, okay. After hours, about 149. Exxon as well, which had its earnings today. But for me, it's going to get a lot more exciting from next week. Exxon, okay, I haven't actually seen anything yet. So I think we're just still very calm. Also, Constellation Brand, one of my favorite stocks here, actually. They've got their earnings as well. And oh, okay, looks like it's a good one there. So it's a 3%. Great one. You can see that looks like the setup is just perfect for it, but not interested. Okay. But anyway, finally, let's just see one more. Yeah, I was looking at Calm as well. Calm Main Food. This actually had some news in the morning. So that might be a precedent for the earnings again. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything going on, not at the moment anyway. But overall, tomorrow we'll probably be able to see. But this formed a double top. It's kind of told you, look, if you look at this pattern here, it's not one to, don't be a hero, full stop. You know, you've seen it running all the way for multiple years. September last year was when it formed the top and it's collapsing. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow is another day. And yeah, so obviously, hopefully we'll be able to do it again. I think we had some market data today, the jolts, etc. Not much market mover for me to worry, to be honest. But we'll see, and ADP as well. I think ADP forecast was 50,000, was 41,000. To be fair, the macros seemed quite strong. The president seemed to have everything in hand. And I mean, who's going to tell off President Trump? Well, not me, at least. Well, not the UK either. But things seem to be going on very well, and so far so good. But again, sometimes market collapses and or falls. It does not have a reason to fall. And again, I'm not calling it as a short. I'm just saying be careful. I think I saw a news headline this morning, the big institutions, they are kind of, taking profits and taking out some of their funds from, AI related trades. Why? Because they feel it's extremely, I wouldn't call it overvalued, but the valuation is quite extreme. So it's your cash. You've got to be patient, know what you are doing. But we'll see tomorrow and God bless. Take care. Bye bye.